Have they thrown the baby out with the bathwater as they did on Golf 8? Well, there's only one way to find out. Hello guys, and welcome to this VolksWizard video, which today features the kind of car we don't normally have on this channel, but it's getting featured because when I posted some pictures of it on social media, everybody seemed to like it, which made it a refreshing change from the mixed reception Golf 8 GTI got. That car is, of course, the Arteon Shooting Brake. Now, this video wouldn't have been possible without the guys at Inchcape VW Cheltenham. So if you like what you see in this video and you want to buy an Arteon Shooting Brake, check out their finance quote in the description of the video below. Right, now let's have a close look at this very beautiful estate car. Okay guys, you know me, I couldn't miss the opportunity to start this video by looking at a couple of older Volkswagen estate cars. So here we have a Mark IV from '99 and a Mark III from '98. Now they're both very worthy cars, very practical, very sturdy, but they have about as much sex appeal as a pair of stained Y fronts. Fast forward 20 years and this is what Volkswagen now give us as an estate car. So yeah, a lot of things have changed with Volkswagen in that time, but clearly not all of it bad. Before we have a closer look at the Shooting Brake though, let's just remind ourselves what it's based on. So this is the original Arteon, came out in 2017 and it was only available in this body style, which is a hatchback or fastback. It's basically a rebodied Passat. So it's got a transverse engine like a Golf. It's got a longer wheelbase than the Passat though. And it's just been facelifted. So the Shooting Brake release coincides with a facelift. And we'll have a closer look at the differences later. As you can probably tell, they're not massive, but we've got the two cars here, so we've got the opportunity to pick up on the nitty-gritty detail. Now, I went to the original launch of this in Hanover in 2017, and I came back thinking one day I wouldn't mind an Arteon. I really enjoyed my day with it, and now we've got the Shooting Brake and an R model, and I reckon an R Shooting Brake is inevitable. Yeah, that's even more likely than ever. In elegance trim, this car is £34,765. That's £800 more than the hatchback variant. If you want the R line that you see here, you have to pay an extra £1,105, but I think that's money well spent, because for that you get 19-inch Montevideo wheels with 245 40 19 tyres. They're Pirellis on this car. You get panoramic glass sunroof, always goes down well, that, and you get 65% tinted rear glass, and you get 30 colour ambient lighting, which we'll have a look at later. There are 8 colours available, though for some reason the one that really caught my eye, called Kingfisher Blue, which if you remember in the 90s there used to be an Audi colour, very bright electric blue colour, that's not available on the R line unfortunately. So the best colour I could see, as well as the usual suspects of silver, black and grey and white, is King's Red. That's the one that I thought would be exclusive to the Mk8 Golf GTI, but you can have it on your R line. I think it would look pretty amazing. This pyrite silver is a very, very classy colour, but yeah, I would like to see one de-chromed in a strong colour, a little bit lower, bigger wheels. Maybe the R will do that for us in the next few months. The standard colour is Urano Grey, and if you pay an extra £1,040, you can have Oryx White, Mother of Pearl. Okay, before we look at the differences between the pre-facelift Arteon and this facelift model, let's have a look at what makes this one special. Its bum. Now from this angle, to my eyes, it looks very much like a Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo, but it's about like a third or a quarter of the price. And what does the Porsche really give you over this car? Gives you a more powerful engine for sure, maybe better build quality, but this is still a premium car. Now you can have a bit more power than this one. This is just a 2-litre TSI with 190 horsepower. There's a 280 with 4-wheel drive and 7-speed DSG, which is a bit closer to the Porsche and still massively, massively cheaper. There are also more sensible engines like a 1.5 TSI Evo with 150 horsepower, that's petrol, and there are 2 diesels, 150 horsepower and 200, the latter only available with DSG. So there's something for everybody, but for a lot of people this 190 petrol will be a very, very adequate, but I just think it's worth just making this car that little bit better by giving it the sort of performance that the look suggests that it might have with the 2-litre TSI 280, but then that's quite predictable coming from me. Now it's probably a bit too light to show you, but this car's got a trick rear light, but yeah, it's just a bit too bright to show you. What I can show you though is a new Volkswagen badge. I think you've probably seen that a million times by now, and that is the boot release, which is powered on this car, presumably standard, because this car is pretty much standard apart from the seats, which we'll have a look at later. So interesting, we've got two struts here, really beefy struts. Okay, well this is what it's all about then, the boots. So you get a really practical boot with this load cover covering it up to go back more. Yep, so two-stage curry hooks there, although rather surprisingly you don't get a release for the backrest here, which you do on a lot of cars. There's little levers there that will let them go forward. But yeah, this is a big boot. Okay, no spare wheel, but there's enough room there to fit one, so don't worry about that. And it's all carpeted, which is becoming a bit unfashionable in the Volkswagen group, so it's great to sit here because as well as looking nice, it does keep road noise down quite a lot. Now there isn't a flat floor, so there's a little bit of a transition there to the level of the seats, but it's, yeah, I think this would be big enough for most people. Okay, you're slightly compromised in the heights there when it comes to boxes and stuff, but you've got so much room you could probably live with that quite easily, unless you're carrying massive boxes habitually. I think there's also the ability to open the boot with your foot, but I haven't got the key on me, so I can't show you that. Let me just get the key. Here is the key. So this is a new style of key. It's very similar to the old 7.5 one, but it's a little bit smaller, a little bit sleeker, a little bit shinier as well. So will this work? Yes! That's the first time in my life I've ever done that, because I'm always trying to do it when I haven't got the key on me. Ah, small things, small minds, I know. Right, we'll carry on talking about the boot in here then. So, if you fold the seats down, the headrest missed the front seats, which is a nice touch. I think on smaller cars with a shorter wheelbase, they'll hit the front seats and you'll have to either take the headrest off or push them all the way in. So yeah, there is a bit of a transition there, but yeah. And actually the rear window line is really, really quite low, so you don't want to block it up with that if you can avoid it, so that's a bit better. So yeah, right. Now we've done the bum, let's do the rest of it and let's compare it with this older Arteon over here. Because the facelift of the Arteon is so subtle, the guys at Cheltenham Volkswagen have brought down a pre-facelift car for me to compare with the facelift Shooting Brake. As you can see, it's not exactly night and day, and this is probably the most different angle, at least outside the car. The third thing I've noticed is that the 7.5 R-style surrounds to the air intakes they flow seamlessly into the bottom of the front bumper. Something a designer probably did in his coffee break, not even his lunch break. The number of slats in the grille around the number plate have gone down from 4 to 3. This bit looks the same though. The badge has changed from R line to just R. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with the R model to make that stand out. We've got the new Volkswagen badge, which actually does finally make this one look quite dated. We've got headlight washers on this car, but that's just a spec thing. I think this one hasn't got them. But it does have this bit around the headlight here to make it look a bit more interesting. That's lacking from here, but I don't think anyone's going to be too worried about that. What makes this car stand out is the creases on the bonnet. So it's a big clamshell bonnet. Whether it's pre-facelift or facelift, they've all got it, and the creases are just so tight. Now down the side of the car, it does look very similar. There's a slight redesign to these trims here. We've got the new folded paperclip badge there, as opposed to our line there. Even the mirrors haven't been touched, which is interesting. The wheels are the same, but they've got the new badge in the middle of them. That's it. You'd have thought they'd at least change the wheels, but no. I suppose it's only been around for 3 years. It's not a very long time. So yeah, this looks great, but there's something about the bulkier section of the Shooting Brake that makes this rear haunch, very pronounced rear haunch. Look at the way it kicks out there. Look even more impressive. It's a very athletic looking car. Okay, the rear lights I think are the biggie now. We've got the IQ light here, which I've never seen on the back of the car. These LEDs are cool, but they just look a bit boring compared to those ones. The lettering is different. We've of course got the 3D VW badge here on the old car. This has changed, so for example that E now is very rounded and the characters are quite a lot bigger. I think that looks definite improvement on that actually. We've got fake exhaust surrounds on both, fake exhaust trims. This is just one big one, which, well, it just looks like an orifice really. That one is trying to look more like an exhaust, and what's worse, a bad fake exhaust or a good fake exhaust? Well, they're probably all bad, I think. On this car, it's body coloured around that fake exhaust. On this one, it's got a gloss black insert, which I think makes quite a big difference. They've both got the reflector sections in the back bumper. And that, I think it is about it. The profile looks pretty similar. So yeah, not an awful lot of change. But then again, it wasn't a particularly bad looking car, was it? I just wish they'd done something more interesting with the wheels, but options are probably available. Right. Let's have a look inside the older car first, just to remind ourselves what it's like. Now the Arteon came out in 2017, roughly about the same time as Golf 7.5 Facelift came along. So a lot of things will be familiar to you if you're a Golf owner. You probably won't be too familiar with frameless windows. These are a coupe thing to make the car look sleeker, and they can often be quite rattly, but actually that's quite good. And the window up and down seems to be really quick, so that's good because I have to do that to clear the seal. Okay, yeah, so it's basically 7.5. We've got on this car active info display, the digital instrument cluster. I don't think that was necessarily standard on every model. We've got a very R Golf style of steering wheel. We've got the 7.5 infotainment, though it's slightly reshaped to fit the dashboard here. We've got something in here to change gear, I think. It's called a gear stick. Don't see that very often. That's not very nice, is it really? Not as stylish as you'd expect in a car like this. This is keyless start on this car. We've got proper knobs for the climate control, so if you want that, buy the pre-facelift because it's a bit different in that car. And if you really must have an analog clock, you've got to buy the pre-facelift because that's gone off the new Arteon. Also, we've got this full width vent across the dash, and that's changed as well on the new car, as I will show you. That's quite nice. It's a textured sort of aluminium. It's pretty good. There aren't going to be any massive changes in the new car because this was pretty good, but let's go and have a look and see what they've done. Have they thrown the baby out with the bathwater as they did on Golf 8? Well, there's only one way to find out. Okay, so there are hints straight away of Golf 8. Let's get in here. But luckily, they are only hints. Yeah, it all looks familiar, just a little bit nicer actually. So firstly, let's talk about the vents, and this was an unbroken run across the dashboard on the older car. It's now broken up with a bit of trim there. So actually I quite like that because I don't necessarily like having air vents in my face right across the dashboard like that, especially at such a high level. On Golf 8 it's a lot lower down, so it's not as obvious. So I think that's definitely improvement. The active info display looks a lot higher res. It's got the new R logo in it. It does have, though, non-virtual displays for the coolant and the fuel tank, which is really weird because, yeah, that's very strange. They look like stickers, but my God, we have got a new version of the headlight switch, so they've kept that here. They haven't gone to buttons. So it's a very conservative interior, this compared to what we've seen in Golf 8. That's partly because of the market for this car, but also because it's a facelift. This is not a brand new car like Golf 8, so they haven't been able to bin stuff like the climate control. What they have done though is made it capacitive, which means touch sensitive. So take a deep breath and let's try and explain this version of it. I'll just put it in neutral so you can get a better view. Actually, we're not running, so okay. So now we've got touch there, but you can slide as well. So, but there aren't actually any buttons, so this is like a halfway house. I mean, that's touch sensitive. For some reason it's not working. Probably have to have the engine running because it's heated rear window. So just to prove that, let's get the engine running. Yeah. Just turn the heating down. Oh my god, how do you do that? Okay, you can probably hear me a bit better now. So I guess it's not as tactile as the knobs in the older car, but then it's not as completely unfamiliar as the stuff you get in Golf 8 and new Leon. So yeah, and unlike A3, you do get blue and red, which I quite like. Yeah, I think that's a happy medium. So it gives you a bit more minimalism and a cleaner look, but it's still relatively functional. Obviously, well, I don't know, if you don't look at the screen and you feel that, it does feel actually quite obvious what you're doing. So yeah, that's definitely easier than the upper one you had on Golf 8. The infotainment looks just like it is in my TCR there, so it's not massively different. You've got some knobs which look kind of out of place really in this car, but they do serve a purpose, so yeah, not a bad thing. Steering wheel, well, interestingly, it hasn't got the heated steering wheel, which really annoyed the hell out of me on Golf 8 GTI, because I was always pressing it, and it's not just one press to turn it off, it's like, I think 3 presses, because it's a 3-stage heated steering wheel, so that's, I'm not missing that at all. New badge there, new style of airbag, quite a thick steering wheel that actually, with bits for your thumbs, so not bad. All this I think is pretty standard. Oh god, yeah, USB-C, but we've got an adapter in this car, so make sure you get one when you buy one, if you do buy one. And we've even got a big knob thing sticking out of the center console to change the DSG with, so that's interesting, and you can also shift manually on it there. But we've also got paddles, so this is a fascinating car because it's very much like it used to be, like Golf 7.5, but there are some subtle changes to it. But so basically, I think for a lot of people, if Golf 8 had this interior, it would be a lot more popular. Anyway, let's do the usual testy bits. Stop it bonging. I need to adjust this. It's got lovely electric seats, which we'll have a look at now. So let's find my driving position. That's it. Okay. Okay, so they say ergo comfort. That's yeah, good. Now these are Napa leather, I think, with carbon. So I've seen carbon before on Golf R. I've seen it in Seat Leon Cupra R, and it's a real top spec thing. These are only £1,150 extra, but blimey, what a seat that is. For once, a fixed headrest seat doesn't look like the cheap option. It looks incredible, and you've got all this adjustability. They're memory seats as well. Yeah, this certainly makes the car for me. If the R model comes with these, I'd be very, very happy. Unlike the other cars that feature carbon leather, it doesn't run to the door cards, but that's fine. Yeah, that's really, really something. Okay, let's now do the important head test on the back seat, because it's got a low roofline, but actually I think it's higher than that car, so I think that's probably a bit more restrictive with headroom on that hatchback. Let's find out. Oh, might have to put that back. Okay. So guys, here we are in the back of the Arteon Shooting Brake, a car with the best bum in the business. And it's actually all right. I'm 6 foot. This is definitely my driving position. Knee room is, as you can imagine, with such a massive wheelbase, pretty damn generous. Headroom's okay. We've even got the sunroof, which lowers the roof, the headlining a bit, I'd imagine, and it looks pretty good actually. So yeah, they've definitely thought this one out pretty carefully. So strangely enough, well, it shouldn't be strange because the States are more practical, but if you want more rear headroom, the Shooting Brake gives you that, as well as looking probably better than the car right there. Now actually, it's dark enough in here to show you the trick ambient lighting. So 30 colour ambient lighting is a feature of the R line, and there you go. It's a bit more interesting than the strips that you got on the old cars. That's another change with the facelift model, and obviously you can change the colours using the infotainment quite easily. So yeah, this is actually probably one of the best cars I've sat in the back of for a very long time. Right, we've already done the boot, so all that's left to do now is go and drive this Arteon Shooting Brake. Okay, here we are driving the Arteon Shooting Brake on some lovely roads in the Cotswolds on a very nice bright autumnal day. Now, it's not a revolution to drive this car because it's pretty much identical to the Arteon that came before it, that's been heavily reviewed for the last 3 years, but I think because it's such a good looking car, it's going to attract a different kind of market, and probably a bigger market, and those people could be like me who want a car that goes round corners properly. So we want to make sure this car will do that on one of my favourite roads shortly, but firstly let's do the basics. Now, importantly, the ride seems really good on these passive dampers with 19-inch wheels. You never really know how a modern car's going to ride, but this is actually quite good, which is really important because most R-lines will be spec'd pretty standard. Not many people will be buying DCC, and to be perfectly honest, from what I can see, you don't need to, but then for an extra £1,000 you can have DCC, so you probably ought to. It's very quiet and refined. I don't think I pulled the cover over on the boot, on the load area, so there could be a bit more road noise than normal, but it doesn't really feel like it. It's a very quiet and soothing car, and that's added to by the 7-speed DSG on this car, which, as you probably know, I don't really need to tell you again, it's a very easy gearbox to live with. It's very good in traffic jams and around town, and then when you get on the open road like this, it's just so smooth and quick. It's really quite unbelievable what we get in a normal car now when it comes to gearbox performance. The driving position, I don't think could be any better. It's quite low. I'm looking only just over the top of the steering wheel on this car's lowest setting, but I can go a lot higher if I want to using the electric adjustment, but I'm not going to mess around with this setting on this lovely road. So let's see what we can do then. So we can put it into sport mode in the old way, pushing it back. We can put it into manual mode as well, which I think we will do. It doesn't make any attempts at sounding good, this car. We'll put it into sport now so you can see what it sounds like. I don't think there's any fakery. No, it's just got a relatively mundane 4-cylinder growl going on under the bonnet. It's not unpleasant. In fact, it's actually more pleasant than the fakery you get in, I don't know, Mark 7 Golf R, so that's good, but it's not particularly going to get your heart racing. Let's see what it can do. Now, it's quite a big car. It's got a long wheelbase though, so it means it should feel a little bit more stable in bends. But as ever, we've got some pensioner doing 20 miles an hour up this wonderful road, so let's just pull over and let them go ahead. Okay, we've got a clear run ahead of us, so let's see what this Arteon Shooting Brake can do. So we've got a 2-litre EA 888 under the bonnet, 190 PS, 0 to 60 in 7.8, which, believe it or not, is 0.1 of a second faster than the normal Arteon, which I don't really understand because you'd have thought this would be a bit heavier, but I'm not going to argue. So yes, this does feel like a bit of a big car. But we've got multi-link rear suspension, which means that it still can be quite a comfortable car, but still go around corners quite well, as we'll find out. Surface is not too pretty, it's sort of patchy, wet and dry, which on these kind of roads, as that kind of headlight lying by the road there proves, could be quite dangerous. Now, my ears are popping because we're going up quite a steep hill now. So can you have fun in a big car like this? Well, I think so. Especially with such an amazing gearbox, making the most out of the relatively modest performance. And then flick it down a bit there for third. Suddenly felt a bit big then as a right-hander came up suddenly. Yes, you can have fun in the Arteon Shooting Brake, but maybe adaptive suspension will give you a little bit more control if you put it into sport mode, say, and hopefully the R will maybe give us that perfect balance of ride and handling. I'd say it's probably a bit too comfortable and a bit too wallowy as it is right now, but it's still enjoyable. It's still, you know, a really pleasant car to drive. Okay, well sadly my time with one of the best looking cars Volkswagen have ever made, the Arteon Shooting Brake, is coming to an end, and I've really enjoyed my time with it. I think the more powerful engines that give the car the performance to match the beautiful looks are very appealing. The 284 Motion and the R in particular, where you can spec it in some good colours, get rid of some of the chrome, put some proper wheels on it, and that will really emphasise the really stunning body shell. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this Volkswagen video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, please comment, please share. As ever, please subscribe. Still too many views are from non-subscribers, so please click that subscribe button, and I'll see you for the next one soon.